Okay, so I want to piggyback off of what I said yesterday about suppressor sound, and what it means to create a game that is not Hollywood slash video game-ish when it comes to what suppressor should really sound like. I'm going to link it up here for you guys. Go check out this video real quick, at least breeze through it so you can understand what I'm really trying to convey in this video, because I want to add on to this. Thank you everybody for commenting, coming by, watching the video. Had some discussions about how you felt, how I felt, how these games can really change what it means to have on a suppressor and use it in our tactical shooters. So what I wanted to get into, what a lot of us were talking about in the comments, was not really different types of suppressors, which I want to add to my tiered loot discussion. I'm going to link that one too up here. I discussed how tiered loot really should have worked in this game. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's pretty good. I really discuss what tier loot should have been in this game, with different types of guns and components, accessories that you put on the gun, instead of it being colorized. One M4 is better than another M4 because you're a higher level and it's a different color, green to blue, blue to purple, gray to, to green, things like that. So I'll link those videos. Go check them out if you want, so you can get a better idea of where I'm going with all these ideas for not so much Ghost Recon Breakpoint, but the future of the tactical shooter and the future of this market, and where I feel like these games need to go with their systems. Because adding things like tiered loot and dropped picking up drops, like you go do a mission and you all of a sudden you get a pair of pants that, or the drones that we see, the type of enemies. I feel like there's something really big missing that they could capitalize on if they're confused. I don't know if the developers are like, how do we build upon these systems, or at least with Ubisoft developers, or if they just really don't care and they're just implementing systems that they have across the board in all their franchises to combine and just get games out. But this is what I want to talk about. Been ranting too much now. Too much of this without getting to the point. Suppressors, supersonic, subsonic, bullets, the different types of suppressors that give you different types of distance, bullet drop, and what it could mean for the tactical shooter, military simulator type games like Ghost Recon, and how developers could implement these types of systems on a different level base as well. Maybe rookie to veteran, or extreme to arcade. And what I expect, or what I would like to see from developers moving forward, instead of implementing the systems that I see coming out in Breakpoint, which a lot of people are unhappy with, tiered loot. I want to talk about how tiered loot could work. If you check out that tiered loot video I linked, because in that video I explained things like how the lowest level of guns should jam, the next level up should have a less probability of jamming, the next level up can be modified with basic components, basic attachments, the next level up can be crafted attachments / attachments in the game that maybe you go talk to in-game NPCs, that if you have a certain amount of supplies, they can build and craft things for you because it's on an island that's high tech. Yada yada yada. Go check out the video so you understand what I'm saying. So with bullet drop, because a lot of people have a problem with the bullet drop in this game for Wildlands. I'm not even talking about Breakpoint, but I know Breakpoint's going to have the same thing. But with Wildlands, we know that, what is it, 300 meters plus, the bullets are just zoom, like they just drop. Now, why not implement a system where you have different types of suppressors and different types of bullets, that if you decide to use suppressor, this type of suppressor, let's say, and you pair it with a subsonic round, you would have close to no sound coming out of your suppressor, which means that let's say you're shooting from this area. I'm using a Clash of Clans map here, guys. I know But it's pretty funny. But I want to like make pretend this is an enemy base, right? This is the perimeter, and let's say you're infiltrating from this area. If you shoot, let's say, a subsonic round and you pair it with a certain type of suppressor, and the suppressor is a high quality. It it could have different types of levels, just like the tiered loot. These suppressors, they're a little louder, but maybe they give more distance. These suppressors are a little quieter, but they give less distance. There's got to be kind of like a trade-off. So let's say you want to pair this. You don't want any. You want to attack this really stealth. So you're out here. You want to hit this base, and you want to be as quiet as possible. So you match the subsonic round with a certain type of suppressor, and perhaps when you do that, only this area of enemies will really hear it. And you would know this because in-game programming wise, they would have to program it and let you know. So let's say the subsonic round shoots a total of 100 meters before drop off, right? And the suppressor you have is 100-meter suppressor before enemies, 100 meters that enemies have a possibility of really hearing the sound of the suppressor. So you come out, you're out the outer perimeter of the base, and you're shooting snipers and you're shooting sentries in sniper towers, and you have a low probability of people hearing you because you're using the subsonic round at under 100 meters or something like that. Or you let the player decide, okay, I want to be 300 meters out. My gun is going to be a lot louder because I need to use the supersonic round, and I need to pair it with a different type of suppressor because it needs to match up distance-wise. The math needs to match up. So if you give players the option to pair certain types of suppressors, certain types of rounds, subsonic, supersonic rounds, to decide how they're going to infiltrate the base and how they're going to remain quiet, not remain quiet, if they're going to risk certain perimeter meters, 50 meters, 100 meters, with what they paired to hear you, maybe go on alert. That's a decision you could make. And this all comes back to the class system as well. How do you want to design classes? How do you want people to attack the gameplay? Is you give them these types of options to where, okay, I have this gun, I'm gonna match it with a suppressor that can go up to 300 meters with a supersonic round. What does that mean? That means I'm gonna be quite loud, so I'm going sniper. As opposed to, I want a suppressor that really has a 80-meter drop off, like one of the best Panther suppressors in the game. 80-meter drop off, subsonic round, but I could be in the middle of this base right here. I could be in the middle of this base, and maybe perhaps only this area will hear me. Something like that. So every time you let off a shot, only enemies in this vicinity might hear the round, and it doesn't lead them to go on alert. It just leads them to maybe they'll come and they'll patrol the area to check, and that leads to also now we can carry bodies in this game. So yeah, you let off a round in the middle of a base as a Panther class with a subsonic round and a one of the best suppressors in the game that only has a max distance before bullet drop of 80 meters. You're playing now how you want to play. I want to go assault, so I'm going to go in between those. Maybe 150-meter suppressor before bullet drop with a sub or supersonic round, depending on how I want to play, how much distance I wanted to shoot. Bullet drop is maybe 300, 400 meters, but my suppressor has a 150. And they can design a system, just program a mathematical system around that allows you with a meter that lets you know the amount of which your bullet will drop off or the power it will have just like the gunsmith has now. When you add an attachment, it does less damage, more damage, but do that with rounds and suppressors and have that directly affect how the enemy AI responds to this, to the bullet sounds that it hears when the guns are suppressed with different types of suppressors and the players using different types of bullets. And that in itself, along with what I spoke about in my other videos about the types of guns you have, you can create an entire system of letting people choose classes, an entire system of tiered loot with different types of weapon attachments, suppressors, and bullets. You can create an entire system around that and ignore this weak system of color coordinated weapons at different levels. That's just boring. It's just absolutely boring. And I think when you start to think in this manner, where it's not just a simple, I'm level 10, I have a gun at level 10 and it's blue. I'm level 12, I have a gun at level 12 and it's blue. This blue gun is better than that blue gun. Why? Because I picked up that blue gun at level 10, I picked up this blue gun at level 12. Ubisoft, that is so boring. God bless you guys. I still love the games you make. I know I'm gonna love Breakpoint, but these are ideas that I wish the developers would design, that they would implement. Things that really make us choose how we're going to attack a certain base. How 4 players are going to come together and say, yo, who wants to do this? Who wants to do this? How is this going to work? Because if we all go supersonic with a suppressor that allows us to shoot the max distance, we're going to be loud, regardless if we have these suppressors or not. And when you give players that choice, instead of just saying, I'm Panther, what does that mean? Nothing really. It means that I'm going to have this little smoke that I could throw up if I get seen. That's boring. And yo, this is just my opinion. You guys let me know. Yo, gee, you're complicating things way too much. But I would love to go into the gunsmith, pick out all my weapon attachments, pick out the suppressor that lets me shoot up to 200 meters with a subsonic round that maybe has a 100-meter distance before drop off, and then the math, the game does the math, and you have a 150-meter basically distance before the bullet drops, and you mix and match the ammo with the suppressor you want to get the best type of sound, and you could then infiltrate bases that way. You're not going to have the assault class who went with a suppressor that lets you shoot far distance with supersonic rounds because he wants to have power and punch and distance in him, and then he's running around the middle of the base not being heard. That's silly. He should be behind the stealth class just as an overwatch as the stealth class is popping with his submachine gun with the suppressor that has a 80 yard max distance, 80-meter yard max distance with a subsonic round because he's quiet so no one around him could hear. And then when it pops off, the assault class come, the whole base goes on alert because suppressors aren't ninja darts. You know, when we shoot a suppressor, it's like an Amazon apocalypto guy. He's in the middle of the jungle with his little thing. That's what it sounds like. And it's ridiculous. And in order to change that system, you would have to really implement these types of systems for them to make sense. So that's really what I wanted to get across in this video, guys. I know I don't stop with these ideas, and they're silly. They're never going to get implemented. They're never going to get built. But I love talking about them. Because how else can the tactical shooter genre evolve in video games besides graphics? Like there's a certain point of time where you could only play Madden so many times or NBA 2K or whatever before 10 years pass and you realize, dude, I'm playing the same game over and over and over. And the only thing that changes is it goes from PS2 to PS3 to PS4. The hardware gets better and they can, you know, add more shading and polygons, and so it looks better. But the programming is the same. The design philosophy remains the same. And what I want to see in the tactical shooter market with Ghost Recon is I want to see things evolve in a way that makes sense for this market, for this genre, for this game. I don't want to see colorful loot when I'm playing. I don't want to be a sniper and shoot a guy from 300 meters out and realize he dropped a pair of pants and now I have to run to him to pick those pants up. I don't want that. I want things like this where I'm 300 meters out and I'm thinking to myself, how am I gonna attack the situation? The idea is that you roll out with what you want to roll out with, and that leads you into the class of what you're playing. That leads you into how loud or quiet you're going to be. These types of systems is what needs to be implemented in this type of game, and the AI needs to respond to it. Not just everything is quiet, everything, you know, every suppressor works the same. It's one suppressor compensator. Nobody uses those. You use the suppressor, or sometimes, you know, I get bored, I go loud in Wildlands. Realistically, you put your one suppressor on and every gun acts the same with it. And I think if we want this series to evolve in the correct way, these are the types of things we need to think about. These are the type of things we need to flesh out. These are the type of things we need to get across to the developers, so the next game or the game after that, they could start designing these types of systems that actually are engaging and makes you sit there and wonder, okay, how am I going to attack this next mission? Do I want to be able to snipe from the outside? Do I want to be this loud, this loud, this loud? You know, depending on how loud your suppressor is going to be when you shoot. Anyway, you get my point at this point. I hope so. I hope you get my point. Let me know what you guys think about this, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm piggybacking this off of my video from yesterday and the discussions I had with a lot of you guys with the subsonic and supersonic rounds, and how this philosophy could really work and be implemented in the Ghost Recon franchise. Obviously, it's not going to be implemented in Breakpoint. Maybe the next game and the game after that, they could start really bringing these types of systems to life and make things more realistic. I don't want to shoot, you know, darts out of my weapon. I want the suppressor to sound like it's supposed to sound like. I want AI to respond accordingly. I want to be able to roll out with different types of bullets and different types of suppressors that have different types of functions, long distance, short distance, quieter, louder, things like that. Ladies, gentlemen, let me know what you think of this type of idea. Is this something you would like to see in the tactical shooter in these types of games, even in games like Call of Duty or whatnot, which I guess doesn't really make sense. Those are more linear progression games, whereas Ghost Recon, you are 500 meters out looking down at a base. You can circle it, hit it from any type of area. It's more open worldish, so it makes more sense to have this type of system built into a game like that. Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll discuss it. We'll go through it like how we always do. Thank you for watching my last video. Thank you for always commenting down below. I appreciate it. I love talking to you guys about it. So do the same in this video. That's it. Yeah. So everyone have a great day. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching. Let me know how you feel about this entire idea, and I will see you guys and girls in the next video. All right, peace.